It's been a long time coming, everyone, but we are back. On the Line podcast is back. Host here, Noel Alberto. Co-host Oliver Dixon Jefford. Oliver, it's been a long time. How are you doing?
It's been a very long time. I'm very relieved to finish uni for the year. This time last year, I just started my final exam during the tournament. So this year, very much watching the tennis guilt-free and very happy about it.
Yep, that's awesome. And hopefully weather holds up in Paris. And we are here to talk French Open opening round, which lasted 3-4 days if you really want to count some of the carryovers, such as Tomas Berdic's match, Simona Halep's match, that carried over into Wednesday because of the Sunday start, but plenty to talk about. And I'm going to talk about, first off, the favorites on the men and women's side experiencing a little trouble here and there. So obviously Nadal, he went down love 3 in the third set against Simone Bolelli before they called it due to rain on Monday. Then Tuesday, had to save set points, but went in straights. You saw Petra Kvitova lose the opening set to Veronika Cepeda-Roy before she won in 3. Elita Svitolina went down 1-5 before winning 12 of the last 15 games. And then today, Simona Halep lost the opening set to Alison Risk, who's obviously more known for her grass court ability than clay, but she found her way out. And then obviously the big talking point, Yelena Ostapenko, defending champion, out shockingly to Katerina Kozlova.
Yeah, it's been a very dramatic start. I mean, even the Sundays are usually very drab, like not much happens, but it was some couple, obviously quite dramatic stuff. Obviously we had Ostapenko going out, which I think is a big talking point of the first round. I don't really think it's the pressure, because I mean, she didn't really suffer from the pressure last year in the final, even when she started to lead in that decider. I think it's just she's one of those players who has off days and sometimes has amazing days, and unfortunately for her, that's just an off day.
Really off day.
Yeah. I'm confident she'll have to bounce back. I mean, obviously she's gone down the rankings a little, but I think she's currently set to be 10th after the tournament, which is hardly a disaster. And it's credit to how solid a year she's built up, aside from the French Open. I mean, obviously, title in Seoul, a couple of big runs at Premier mandatory tournaments as well. But yeah, it was, obviously she felt others tested. I was quite surprised that Halep dropped that first set, maybe having to wait so long to start again. Obviously, she hasn't played and she lost the Rome final. Took her a while to get into a rhythm, but she was quite comfortable after that. Obviously, Kvitova, obviously, very tight first round match, but obviously she's already done the second round and she looks very good today. Like you said, Svitolina, the same, obviously, was a double breakdown in that first set against Ida Tomljanovic, but came through and also looked quite good today. On the women's side and on the men's side, not the easiest first round for Rafa, but I'd say looking mostly fine. I mean, he wasn't incredible, but he was solid enough. I don't think there's too much concern. It may give some encouragement to the other players, but he's still going to be the heavy favourite for any match he plays here. A lot of the season on the men's side is doing quite well. Just looking, Kevin Anderson, the 6th seed, beat Paolo Lorenzi quite convincingly. Cilic through in straight sets, but maybe a little more tougher than he expected. Just so Del Potro, obviously, injury doubt coming in, had an awful first set, but then eventually beat Nicolas Mahut. So yeah, Goffin obviously had to come from 2 sets down. So yeah, it hasn't always been easy for everyone, which I think that bodes for an interesting tournament, to be fair, though.
Yeah, I mean, for Bolelli over in that Nadal match, it kind of gives hope to the other guys, gives them kind of a little game plan on how to attack him. Though, to be fair, it was a little more damp those days, so obviously not ideal to the liking of Rafa, who obviously likes it when it's warm, sunny out, plays to his liking. So maybe Bolelli just took advantage of very good weather today, but still credit to him for pretty much hitting Rafa off the court at times in that match.
Absolutely. I think you mentioned the conditions. It's true, Nadal, they don't favour Nadal's playing style. I mean, last year it was hot a lot of the time, especially in the final. Hot and dry, so that really favoured him. Obviously, he couldn't annihilated Varinka in that championship match. But I think I don't think the conditions are meant to be great for the rest of the tournament, which might give a little tiny advantage to other players that face him. Obviously, he's more than capable of beating anyone, and he's obviously probably should be winning the title again. But that's a slight little factor he might have to fight against, because I think, especially for the rest of this week anyway, things are still meant to be a little bit damp. Could have quite a bit of rain. There's meant to be more rain later on, unfortunately. So, well, I guess we'll see. But I think that could be a slight disadvantage for him in some ways.
The French Tennis Federation better hurry up on that roof.
Absolutely, it's really a notable point. They're the only ones now, aren't they? And obviously, Wimbledon's going to have a second one for next year. Yeah, so they do need to get a move on.
I believe U.S. Open might have a second or a third one. I know they're having a second one, I think, this year. Not sure if a third. I'll double check on that. But yeah, so yeah, favorite struggling, talked about that. But how about some second chances for the lucky losers? So obviously, we're guaranteed a lucky loser to the third round in the men, as Ruben Bemelmans, who defeated Yuki Bambry, and then Jürgen Zopp defeated 14th seed and a player who's going downhill very, very quickly, Jack Sock.
Yeah, as we say, I think it shows to an extent the rules are working, which is good, obviously. I think it was particularly highlighted at Wimbledon last year. So many people retiring in the first round because they don't want to risk losing the prize money. And obviously now, if you withdraw, you get half the prize money if you withdraw once the draw's made. So I think the system is working. As you said, yeah, a couple are really making the most of the opportunity, especially Zopp. I mean, I think Sock's now 5'11" for the year.
Yeah.
So it's a really bad loss, but still would have probably favoured him going into that. So it's a big win for Zopp. And looking ahead, the winner of that match will face either Max Martira or Denis Shapovalov in the third round, which is obviously Shapovalov's rising fairly quickly. But it will probably be the third round opponent, but he's obviously susceptible, so it could be an opportunity for one of them to potentially make the fourth round.
Yeah, and then obviously we even talked about the story of Marco Trungelliti. So quick synopsis. Sure, most of you, if not all of you, heard of it by now, but luckily lost in qualifying, flew back to his home in Barcelona where his mother and grandmother from Argentina were visiting, gets the call that Kyrgios has pulled out, you're getting his spot, drives from Barcelona to Paris, checks in around midnight Paris time, about 10 hours later, plays a match, defeats Bernard Tomic in 4 sets, and then his magical run comes to an end today to Marco Cecchinato.
Yeah, it's a wonderful story because it was so open. I think anyone who lost in qualifying, even if they lost in the first round, would have been able to take that spot if they signed in. It's absolutely ridiculous. So many people not even thought about it, flown off to different tournaments or flown off back home. And yeah, it's crazy. He's I think left with an extra $80,000 that he wouldn't have expected to get, which is really some going. So yeah, and obviously just even coming and then win that match is something. Obviously lost today, unfortunately for him. Yeah. But still, it's probably going to be the most. It's definitely been the biggest story of the tournament so far.
Oh, for sure.
The whole story of so many, and it'll be remembered for quite a while. It's like not got much had like this before.
Yeah, and looking at it, he actually lost in the last round of qualifying to Hubert Hurkacz from Poland. So not bad that, long journey, made it. Now second rounder, very good for him. So obviously on the women's side, big story, return of Serena and Victoria Azarenka to Grand Slam tennis. Well, Azarenka, her return, she played pretty well, but did not win the match against Katerina Siniakova, who with now Siniakova down is now to the third round. Serena defeated Kristina Pliskova, the twin sister of Karolina Pliskova, defeated her in straight sets. And I watched that match, and there was a lot of talking about it, and then we'll get to the cat suit later. But I think the key points in key takeaways from this match were she was winning a lot of longer rallies that we probably wouldn't have seen her win in Miami and Indian Wells. So she spent the whole time, withdrew from Madrid, withdrew from Rome. She spent the whole time, the lead up to the clay season, using time to work on her fitness, and clearly it looks like her fitness is getting back to where we expect it to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think on hindsight she maybe returned slightly too early, but she's obviously taken out time off. Her body's recovered from childbirth, as she's obviously been able to get more fitness, get more practice, and yeah, she did look good. It was a good match. Pliskova did not play badly by any stretch, but you can see there was someone who'd never won that tournament before. Because I think when it came to the big moments, I don't think she necessarily had that belief, because she was 3-love up in that first set tiebreaker as Serena just came storming back. But yeah, it was a good performance by Serena. Not really much else you could say, but it is a match. It was a good draw for her, considering she's come back unseeded. She could have easily got any of the seeds, which would have been an absolute nightmare, and I think she probably would have lost. I can't see her going on to win the title. It could be wrong, who knows? But yeah, I can see her picking up a couple more wins. But interesting match against Barty next, which should be a good one to watch.
I think we're all in this for a Sharapova-Serena fourth round match.
Yeah, Pliskova's Karolina's in here though as well. Obviously, she's won Stuttgart semi-finalist here last year. Also reached the semis in Madrid, so I think she could throw the cat amongst the pigeons in terms of that, especially considering she's meant to have Sharapova in the third round. Yeah. Sharapova far from convincing yesterday.
Yeah, against Hogenkamp.
Yeah, it was set to break up and ended up 3-love down in the third.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was able to come back, but still, yeah, not massively convincing, and not necessarily an easy match against Donna Vekic next, who won fairly comfortably in her first round match against Bondarenko. Looking at that, and I was looking at the live rankings, as you know, before, and she's currently set to hit career high after the tournament. So I don't think she'll be an easy match either.
Mm-hmm.
And also Julia Gerges in here as well, who came through a tight match against Sabulkova in the top part of this little section. So yeah, it's quite an interesting one.
Yeah, and Sabulkova is actually coming off a final, I believe, this past weekend, who I believe she lost to Pavlyuchenkova in
Strasbourg.
Yeah, I believe it was like 3 tiebreak sets.
Yeah, 3.5 hours. Pavlyuchenkova saved a couple match points. Interesting to hear about Pavlyuchenkova. She's, I believe her and Sam Stosur won their doubles today. There was definitely a setup, and they're playing in the second round at one point, I think tomorrow, I believe, against each other. So that could be an interesting one.
It's okay, as long as they're winning doubles, they'll be fine regardless of the result.
Yeah.
And another upset we've yet to talk about, but we'll hit right now, is Stan Wawrinka. So the defending finalist, former champion here, is now out in the first round to Guillermo Garcia Lopez. He was up 2-1, up a break in the fourth, but lost in the fourth set tiebreak, then lost 6-3 in the fifth, and now seeded 23rd, losing over almost nearly all of his 1,200 points. He is sliding all the way down to outside the world's top 250, which is very sad to hear that. But obviously can't use protected rankings anymore. Likely we'll get wild cards into plenty of tournaments, but boy, are we going to see the Stanimal that we knew before the knee injury and surgery, or is this pretty much it?
I do have concerns, to be honest. I mean, he said the knee is fine now, which is fair enough. So obviously, this is just a lack of match practice, I'd say. But obviously, he was 2-1 up, and I think he was a break
Yeah,
up in that
yeah, he
fourth
was a
set.
breakup.
And yeah, he kind of just lost it, I think, a little bit mentally. And obviously, he's obviously lost to Garcia Lopez in the first round here before, and obviously fell that way again. And I think it's tough. I mean, next is grass season, which is not a good time for him. It's probably his weakest surface. Well, actually, there's no doubt is his weakest surface. Um, so yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, who will likely? I think he'll probably get wild cards into the tournaments. To be fair, actually, some of them he would have made in being ranked high enough 6 weeks beforehand. But yeah, it is growing because he's 33, I think now, and obviously we've seen Federer come back strongly, but Federer's an exception to that in general. It's taken Djokovic quite a few months to get into his groove. Wawrinka hasn't been able to pick up that match practice. His game style is incredibly physical, so I am concerned about whether we'll see him back to his best again.
You think the departure of Magnus Norman, which probably has kind of gone under the radar with all these losses, do you think that has also taken its effect on Stan?
I think potentially it's so hard to tell. I mean, it could have. I mean, we look at Djokovic. I mean, obviously he split up with Marion Vajra, and then early this year he split with Andre Agassi. He's brought Marion Vajra back and he started playing some better tennis again. So I think you could say that, but obviously in terms of Djokovic, you don't know whether that's because he's picked his form up. Don't know how much impact the coaching's played. It wouldn't surprise me if you see Wawrinka and Norman back together, but I think it might be a bigger issue for Stan.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it earlier when just talking about it. Very, very powerful and physical game. Like if you like flash back to those Australian Open classics with Djokovic, like the way he just bludgeoned the ball, especially on the forehand side, which is what helped him to win 3 of 4 Grand Slams. Using the big forehand. We always talk about how marvelous his backhand is, but the forehand and serve were just so improved over the last number of years, and that was key to him winning. And now looks like the physical game is, hurting. So we're going to look at some live scores. It looks like Alexander Zverev. Oh, boy. So, I mean, we talked about this before the pod. You said Ricardus Berankis was probably injured, or was most likely injured in his opening round match against Zverev, correct?
I believe that's likely the case, yeah.
Yes. So, Zverev getting tested now, down 2-1 to Dusan Lajovic. So that's currently happening live. Grigor Dimitrov down 2-1 to American Jared Donaldson, but up a break in the fourth. Sam Querrey up a set on Gilles Simon. Matteo Berrettini, Ernest Gulbis level at a set apiece. Qiang Wang is set up on Petra Martic as well. And then looking at some completed matches, so obviously Halep through, we mentioned. Berdych out, came from 2 sets down after the rain delay, won the following 2 sets, but then lost 6-2 in the fifth. Svitolina cruises over Kuzmova. Djokovic, not as straightforward, just like, his opening round match. So he won against Rogerio Dutra Silva in his opening round match. Was down a break in both the first and second sets, but then still won in straights. Tricky match against Jaime Munar, but Djokovic found a way. Julian Benneteau through. Kvitova, like you talked about. Cruz against Laura Arrobarena. Osaka, 4-5 against Diaz. Carreño Busta and Herbert through. Madison Keys. So a lot of, for the most part, seeds are holding pretty firm here.
In general, but it's quite interesting to now see Zverev and Dimitrov are the 2 seeds expected to meet in the last 4. So obviously it's quite interesting if they both fall who would come through there. I mean, I think it's unlikely Dimitrov would make it that far anyway because he hasn't been in great form. Not a great clay courser, but Zverev once again struggling in a slam and obviously 2-1 down now. And I was watching some of that match before we started podding and on one of the British broadcasters who shows the tournament, ITV, and Mark Petchey and Sam Smith, who were commentating on that, we're talking about obviously the court run, obviously the ball ring, and Mark Petchey was particularly saying that Zverev likes to play deep and quite far back, and he doesn't necessarily get that room on court one, and because Lajovic is such a solid player, he can take advantage of it. So I think that could be quite an interesting thing to look out for in however much longer is in that match.
Yeah, 2:22 gone through in 3 sets through with the number 2 seed, who probably most people had through to the final. But is it another disappointment for Sasha on the horizon?
Yeah, it's looking more than likely at the moment. He's really going to need to find an extra gear from somewhere.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, obviously that set he won 7-5. Lajovic was a break up in that and didn't completely go away after that break. Obviously cracked a bit at the end, but hasn't done masses wrong. So, and he's reached the 4th round here before. So he's not someone who's simply going to go away. So, yeah, we'll have to see. But, yeah, I mean, he's more than capable of turning it around. We all know his talent.
Yeah.
It's just about whether, because obviously he struggled so much at slams before, whether he believes it enough.
Yeah. I mean, I believe sometime last year, he is pretty much the king, or the soon to be the new king of the Masters events. He done so well in them. Obviously, he had great run. I mean, to start the year, I believe Miami finalist, Madrid title, or Monte Carlo semi. Yeah, Miami finalist, Monte Carlo semi, Madrid winner, Rome finalist, and then forgot how he did in Indian Wells. To be quickly search that up in a second, but
I don't think he did that well. It wasn't Miami Open was his first final of the year. He hadn't played amazingly well up until that point.
Yeah.
So I think it was a fairly early loss. And
then another seed, Kei Nishikori. He's about to go down 2-1, 2 points away from going down 2-1 to Benoit Paire. But on the other side, on Longland, Goffin cruising to what would be a 6-0 second set.
Well, Mute, I think that's how you say that, was 5-3 up, so he hasn't won a game since then. So we're looking like we could get an 8th straight game for Goffin in that match, which is some going because after he was sort of 2 sets down to Robin Hart in his first round, and those final 2 sets there were 6-1, 6-love. So that's quite an impressive run of form for him.
Yeah. So hypothetical question here. So should Zverev go out, right? We'll pretend Sasha goes out to Lajovic right now. Who is making the final out of the bottom half? So we have Djokovic still, we have Goffin, we have Thiem. We'll throw it out on the cards that Nishikori does go out as well. So you have those 4. You also have Luca Puig. So you have some of these names. Who do you think is the one that's making the final to most likely face Nadal?
Well, before the tournament, did have Zverev reaching the final. I had him beating Djokovic in his semi-final.
I had Djokovic over Zverev in my semis.
Yeah. So I would still have Djokovic in the semi-final. Zverev's in the same quarter as Thiem, so assuming Zverev does go out, I would back the Thiem to come through. He doesn't have an easy match today against Tsitsipas, but I still think he should win that. And of that match, based on the fact Thiem's got a lot of clay court practice this year, based on how easily he beat Djokovic last year in Paris, I would have, if assuming that is the semi-final, Thiem Djokovic, I would have Thiem winning it.
I still stand by Novak, and potentially one of those tasty Nadal Djokovic showdowns. I mean, Djokovic showed flashes of pushing Nadal well behind the baseline, putting him on the defensive in a row, but still like a little, probably rust still there, a little too much errors, but Nadal still found a way to get through. But yeah, I do see most likely a Djokovic team semi with I'll still have the Serb winning that one. So we shall see what holds next for young Sasha Zverev, who is on serve in the fourth. See what happens. So we'll be back in a couple days to pod for our post round 2 thoughts. But Oliver, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me at OliverDJ98.
Oh, did you change it? I think it was 1998 before.
Is it meant to be 1998? I get confused. I might have just given you the information from my other account. No, OliverDJ1998. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, host is always right. No, I'm kidding. Mine is at Not First Noel. You can find us both writing for Babel USA. So we hope you enjoy this On the Line podcast. We'll be back in a couple days to talk about, review the second round, give us our thoughts, and hopefully a certain number 2 seed is still in the tournament. All right. Peace out, everyone.